Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody and thank them for joining us this afternoon. And I want to, first of all, tell you that my name is Eileen Rosenthal. I'm the CEO and founder of Footsteps to Brilliance, which is an early literacy company for pre-K to third graders. I also want to introduce our panelists today. We've got Dr. Barbara Nemko. She's the superintendent of Napa County Office of Education. We've got Olivia Martinez, who's the biliteracy director in Far San Juan Alamo ISD in Texas. We've got Jennifer Djelivich, who is an administrator in Colusa County, California. And we have a very special guest here today, and that is Pinky. Hello, Pinky, and thank you for joining us.
She's sleeping right now.
Okay, well, she'll wake up. She'll wake up, I'm sure, very soon. Okay, so what is Footsteps to Brilliance, and why am I so passionate about this? Footsteps to Brilliance has an entire bilingual early learning ecosystem from pre-K to third grade. What we do is we send very high quality early learning materials to every smartphone, to every tablet, to every computer within a district, so that every child has equitable access to the resources that they need in order to start kindergarten, to be prepared to start school, and to read proficiently by third grade. And since many of you are teaching bilingual classrooms, two unique features of Footsteps to Brilliance is an English-Spanish toggle switch page by page. You can change from English to Spanish, and we work on literally any device. But here's the thing, both online and offline. Internet is not required. As we said, I am the moderator today, your moderator today, and I have a wonderful panel, and we're looking forward to your meeting each one of them. I'm going to start with Dr. Barbara Nemko.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, I guess, in a lot of places. Very nice to be here today. So I'm from Napa County, as you heard. And a little context, we're about an hour north of San Francisco. Many of you may have visited here or heard about us, and people think of us as a very wealthy county because we do sell a lot of wine. But what they don't realize is that most of the people with the accumulated wealth are not young people who have children in schools. So, for example, we are a county of about 137,000 people, 83% white, 34% Hispanic. But our school population of 20,000 is quite different. And in fact, it is 57% Hispanic and 27% white. And our preschool population is 77% Hispanic. Most of those students are native Spanish speakers, so English is a second language. And of course, we knew all about the 30 million word gap, which basically means that by the time our students who speak Spanish as their native language get to kindergarten, they have heard probably 30 million fewer words than the children who are native English speakers who come from professional families. And since we are a hospitality county, most of our children come from lower income families. So they're starting kindergarten at a huge disadvantage. And the research shows that that disadvantage, which is about 2.5 years, follows them all the way through K-12, despite our very best efforts to close the achievement gap. So as Eileen was developing Footsteps to Brilliance, and she told me all about it, when you know someone and they're telling you about this brilliant idea they have, you go, yeah. But then I happened to have a grandchild, and in 2010, that grandchild was 2 years old. iPads were brand new. I had one. So I said to Eileen, okay, put this on my iPad, and if my granddaughter's attention is drawn to this, I will know you have something there, because she was totally charged with electrical random impulses, and her attention would flip from here to there. She had the attention span of a gnat. And the first time we clicked on the first story, and she was absolutely mesmerized, I knew that Eileen was onto something. And so I brought this back to Napa County, And we started a very small pilot in one of our school districts in the summer. We had 16 students in the class. Each of them had an iPad. And the kindergarten teacher, remember, we were doing this with preschool. In the summer, the kindergarten teacher came in to see what we were doing because many preschool and kindergarten teachers are horrified by the idea of using devices, or at least they were until the pandemic. And so she stood there like this, watching us, ready to pounce. And at the end of day one, her arms came down. By the end of the 4-week pilot, she had become our chief cheerleader. And we had a debrief. All 4 kindergarten teachers came to the debrief. And our plan had been to take the 16 iPads and divide them up among the 4 classes to be used as little centers. And the kindergarten teachers told us they demanded that every student have an iPad. So we knew we had something really good going. So we were doing this for about 2 or 3 years. It had expanded beyond that one school district to other school districts, when we suddenly realized that we could do so much more. So we decided that we would get a site license and be able to use Footsteps for every preschool child in Napa County at no cost to their families. And this was critical because that would give them the opportunity, even when we didn't have them, to be using this app at home. And as Eileen mentioned, the beauty of it is you can download the app in the Wi-Fi environment of the school, but then they can use it anywhere without Wi-Fi. And the only difference is that their results don't get uploaded until they're back in a Wi-Fi environment at school. So we did a big launch. We invited a former state superintendent of public instruction in California to the launch, all of our elected officials, board of supervisors, city council members, mayors, and of course it was covered in the newspaper. And we started doing workshops at the preschools where we would invite anyone with preschool children to come. We would help them download it. And if they didn't have a device, we would loan them a device. So that is what got us started. And we advertised by we had little cards that we carried with us. And if we saw someone in a restaurant with a preschool child, we'd hand them a card and it gave them all the instructions for how to download it. And so we've been doing this for many years. And what's so interesting, we also advertised on buses. We put signs on buses, and we did a trailer in movie theaters that at the holidays, when a lot of people go to the movies, so people would be able to see why it was so important. We discovered a very interesting unintended side effect of using Footsteps, and that is our parents reported to us that they were learning English much better than they ever had because of the toggle switch. So they would read the story to themselves in Spanish, then they'd read it in English, and if they got stuck on a word, they could toggle back and forth. And so that was something that we had never expected. When we told all our preschool teachers, we run the county preschools, all the public preschools. When we told our preschool teachers that we were going to be using iPads in the preschool, if you think the kindergarten teacher in Calistoga was appalled, you should have seen my preschool teachers. They glared at me, absolutely glared. And if you could read the look was, make me, bitch, not going to do this. We know this is a terrible thing to do. And so we worked very, very slowly. First, we gave them iPads in the spring, and we said, these are for you. Take it home, play with it, learn how to use it. It's just for you to play with. We don't expect you to use it in class. When they came back, we said, okay, now we're going to put Footsteps on here. And again, play with it. And if you feel like trying it out with your class, you can. And then by that spring, we said, if you implement this program, there will be a one-time offline stipend. So teachers will get $1,000 offline one time, and aides in the classroom will get a $500 stipend. And when you put that in the context of our budget, which is in the many millions of dollars, and we had maybe 16 teachers, it's a very small amount of money. But if you are a preschool teacher, and preschool teachers are on a lower pay scale than K-12 teachers, that was important. $1,000 is the difference between a summer vacation or not having one, or buying a new appliance and not having it. So it was a huge incentive. And we found that all of our teachers did start to use it, and their reaction was fascinating. We invited them to one of our board meetings at the end of the year, and they had us in tears. One teacher said, I was going to retire because every year the students were coming in with lower and lower skills. I couldn't believe how much they were able to learn and how quickly they were able to learn it. I don't want to retire anymore. I'm able to do things I never dreamed I could do in my career. And then they started to build on the program as it was, and they started enriching it. So the pictures that you see here are from the story One Way Cafe. Preschools typically have kitchens set up and they have little dishes and things. So instead of using it as a kitchen, they set up cafes. And what they did was somebody would be role play the role of the waiter and other people would be the customers. And you can see the customer in the middle picture looking at her menu. And you see the waitress hovering with her pad and pencil ready to take the order. And it's absolutely wonderful to see how much our preschool teachers really got into this. We've also expanded, and now we use it in our after-school program because there are so many kindergarten and first grade students who need this additional help, and that's been an incredible expansion and boon to this program. What I love about working with Footsteps to Brilliance is throughout our 11 years now, Eileen, can you believe 11 years?
11 years.
They have listened to us. When we had suggestions, when our teachers had suggestions, they would implement those. When our teachers said, there are other things that our kids need, they would do that. And the program keeps expanding. So there's always something new happening. And now it's not just the fictional stories, it's nonfiction. It's Aesop's fables, which I love, come in the original and the modern version. There are nursery rhymes, and of course the games and the word phonics things. It's an incredibly rich program that just gets richer every year. And if I were to try to take it away from my preschool teachers now, I think they'd kill me cheerfully. I wouldn't dare. Of course, the one-time stipend became something that we have done every year, but it is always offline because we don't know that we'll have the money to do it at any given time. And we couldn't be happier. When the pandemic happened and preschool teachers were all around the country were saying, how do you do preschool if you're not live? You have to do it online. Our teachers just segued, they tap danced their way in because they've been doing this for years, and it was a piece of cake. These are some of the results. You can see the difference between the fall and the spring, the incredible growth in language, logic and reasoning, phonics, phonological awareness, and reading comprehension. It's pretty amazing. And we had done Peabody picture vocabulary tests in the first year or two, and that was an incredible growth experience for our kids. So I think I may have run out of time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nemko. I am going to move on to Jennifer Djelivich and her assistant, Pinky. Colusa County received the coveted Innovative Approaches to Literacy grant from the U.S. Department of Education for the exceptional work that they have done to encourage early literacy countywide. Now, Jennifer and Pinky were hired to facilitate this early learning ecosystem for Colusa County. Jennifer, could you describe what you did to make sure that there was equity and engagement for all of your students once COVID hit?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Pinky and I are very excited to be here. And there's lots of information that we want to cover in the next couple of minutes. Before we get started, I just want to quickly share the primary takeaways. And that is that families will engage in virtual experiences, and they are more likely to engage if you keep it simple. You make the digital pages come alive using our five senses, and you have fun. So, all right, are you ready, Pinky, to have some fun here? All right, let's go. So let's see, before COVID, we made connections with families in the classroom and outside of the classroom. With COVID came a new day and a new adventure. So we had to lean into the tools that we have at our fingertips to really engage with our families. So those tools were social media. We have Footsteps to Brilliance and Clever Kids University. We had local food distribution locations, and if you look online, you will find an event for every single day of the year. So if you look here, April 8th is Draw a Bird Day. So in both English and in Spanish, we posted on social media and also in our newsletter that we passed out at the food distribution locations. We asked them to draw a bird, talk about their bird, and share it on social media. We did this not only for Draw a Bird Day, but Earth Day, National Zipper Day, which is one of my favorites. They counted all the zippers and they shared it. And we noticed the families really enjoyed that. Teacher Appreciation Day, California Poppy Day, we can go on and on. We also collaborated with our local organizations like the Colusa County Library and the Center for Healthy Communities. You'll see here there's a picture that the Colusa County Library really wanted to connect with their families as well. So they gave us their craft packets, and we shared those at the local food distribution locations. And then we asked the families to share their work on social media. And we also collaborated. Our Innovative Approaches to Literacy grant is amazing, and we were able to pass out books and Footsteps to Brilliance information and Clever Kids information to families at the local food distribution locations. As parents or teachers started going back into the classroom, whether it be a virtual classroom or a hybrid situation, we needed to support those teachers. And what we realized the best way to do it is through modeling. How to model, how to make those digital pages come alive, how to find connections, but also how to keep it simple and to have fun. So that's where story time with Pinky came into play. As you see here, we have the reading with Pinky and Mrs. J. And I included myself in the first run of these story times because as the literacy coordinator, I had gone into the school libraries and I'd met the teachers. I also taught first grade at one of the districts. So they were familiar with me, and that was teachers were comfortable sharing this live Zoom link with their families. So I am going to share a minute of story time with Pinky.
Hi there. This is Mrs. J, and this is Pinky. And we are going to read you a story, one of Pinky's very favorite stories in Footsteps to Brilliance, and it's called Just the Right Pet. We're going to practice writing the letter P, and then we're going to look at some other words that start with the letter P that has the sound P, and then last we're going to do some sight words. And hopefully Pinky will stay awake the whole time because last time we did this, she fell asleep. So we are going to see. Are you ready? Okay, here we go.
She's about to fall asleep right now, if you can't tell. So why did I choose Pinky as my assistant? Well, Pinky makes me happy. She's someone to talk to. She's someone that we can all talk to. So it's a way for families to connect, and we can relate to maybe they have a pet, maybe they have a dog or a cat, or maybe their neighbor has a dog or a cat. So they're able to connect, and we'll talk about that. Starts conversations. She started conversations, opportunities to share stories, and it engages our five senses. I mean, she's really soft. She's super cute and easy on the eyes. She makes some really cute little grunts. And so she engages our five senses. She makes the digital pages come alive. And when I say it's simple, available, and cute, I mean, you want to use the things that are available to you. Pinky is right here. And you want to use the things that are available and that make you happy. And definitely Pinky is that for me. See, at one of the first story times we read Just the Right Pets in Footsteps to Brilliance, and that is her favorite story because it talks about being adopted. And so as we're reading the story, it's not only an opportunity to engage, model for your teachers, because we encourage the teachers to sit in, but also to model for your parents. Talk about, in modeling, we're talking about the story, and so different reading strategies, also talking about your feelings. And you see in this picture, so they're touching their face, they're looking maybe a little confused. How do you think they're feeling? How would you feel in this situation? So she looks, and this whole time we're also looking for things that start with P, which is Pinky's favorite letter. And so maybe she looks a little perplexed. So what does perplexed mean? So we're doing vocabulary development depending on the age of your student. And also at the end of the story, there are questions in Footsteps to Brilliance. So during the whole time, whether we're reading the story or we're going through the questions, it's an opportunity for shared reading and turn taking. I'll read a page and then you can read a page. And the whole time Pinky is watching, she's participating. She'll be asleep by the end of the session. And we're also, we have an opportunity in Footsteps to Brilliance to practice writing our letter P or any of the letters. So we put our pink pointer finger up and practice writing letter P. Pinky uses her paws. As you can see, the kids are using their pointer fingers and they're practicing writing the letter P. So you can do it, obviously, using your pointer finger in the live Zoom session, but you can also practice it on Footsteps to Brilliance. So then we would encourage the families at the end of the session have an activity for them. So go outside and go on a hunt, whether it be inside or outside. An example is go on a hunt for looking for items that start with the letter P. And you can do this for anything. Go on a hunt for finding things that are all blue or that are the shape of a circle. So you can go on any sort of hunt, and you're engaging your five senses. So, here's a flower. It's Pinky's favorite flower. It smells really good. It's pink. It's purple. Maybe you're in your house. There's a pink pen. So this is opportunities for the families to connect. It's very simple. They're expanding on what we've talked about, and they can also in Footsteps to Brilliance make a book, and you can make a book with this using the characters and the pages in the book, or you can also make your own book. So you can make a book for every everything that starts with P. So one page could be a pink flower, the next page could be a paper or a pen, the things that you have in your home that are available to you. And then at the next story time, you come back and share these items. We're also, Pinky allows the digital pages to go into the real world. Any chance we get, we bring her with us. So this was a trunk or treat, and she came with us, and the kids could pet her and rub her tummy, give her kisses. Maybe they saw her on Zoom and now they're meeting her for the first time live, or maybe they met her for the first time at an event and they would come into the Zoom session. So we're continuing these Storytime with Pinkies. We also have additional virtual story times with the talented and beautiful, innovative approaches to literacy team. We've got Stephanie. She does a bilingual virtual story time. And Alyssa, you can see that Alyssa is, she has her hands up. So this is a Itsy Bitsy Spider. This is a song that's in Footsteps to Brilliance. So she practiced your hand gestures. So I can't do this with Pinky, but climbing up the water spout, down came the rain and washed the spider out. So she's practicing using their hand gestures, and then so it's interactive and it's engaging your five senses. What does it feel like to have the rain on your skin? What does it sound like? So lessons learned. This is the exciting part that I love. Early on in COVID, we realized that families will engage in virtual activities. We put out these things, or the National Zipper Day, or the Draw a Bird Day, and we're wondering if people are going to post and share, but they do. They want to see what other people are doing. They want to share what their families are doing. And it's inspirational for the community. It's kind of a ripple effect that others will do it as well. We've also learned that we're all learning. So don't be afraid to try new strategies using technology and make mistakes, because we're all in this together. And I could say that I had a little error. The whiteboard was acting very strange in one of our Zooms, and it was wonderful. The kids were able to help me and troubleshoot. So it was empowering. It was a modeling for the students. And it shows that it tells them it's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and that's how you learn. So don't be afraid. I've also learned that we've learned so much since March, from the parents and the teachers using Zoom and sharing your screen, to the students using the mute button. Even the youngest learners didn't know how to use the mute button at the very beginning, and now they have. And I also we've learned that parents are there and they're listening, even if you don't see them. And so what you're doing is you're modeling for your parents, you're building your parents' confidence that you don't need the fancy materials. You can use the items that are in your home, and because you are your child's first teacher. And so they're there, they're listening, they're learning, even if you don't see them. You want to be prepared with a lesson plan, even if it's a 20 to 30 minute session, because you will get nervous and things are going to happen. You want to keep it simple and use the tools that you have available. For us, we have the Footsteps to Brilliance and Clever Kids. I have Pinky, I have my flowers, and we all have things that are right at our fingertips. And you want to use those tools that are available to you, because you want to have fun. And when you're having fun, the students are going to have fun, and we all can feel that. And we are all virtual leaders. And as our job as virtual leaders is we want to humanize the experience. We want to be intentional and caring, and we want it to be an authentic, emotional experience. So, and lastly, we want to celebrate the growth. It's been a hard time, but we have come so far. And you can see from this graph in Footsteps to Brilliance the number of words we've read since COVID. But we all know that we've come a long ways, and we want to celebrate that. So with that, I want to end this the way I end my story times with Pinky. And so if everyone could put their hand up, we're going to do a Pinky. We're going to do a virtual high five. And I know there are some out there doing that with me. So thank you. That is it.
Jennifer, before we go on to the next panelist, I want to tell you, be sure to read the comments because they're just wonderful. And I believe that there was something you wanted to invite this audience to.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. If you would like to be a part of a story time with Pinky, please let us know, and we will send you an invite for a story time with Pinky, right? All right. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to now ask Olivia. Let's see, Olivia to come on. There we go. Hello, Olivia. So first of all, hi. So FAR San Juan Alamo has developed one of the first dual language programs. For over 10 years, they've done this district-wide because they recognize the importance of graduating multilingual students into the world. When you talk about equity, multilingual is really crucial. Now, Olivia Martinez is the director of the biliteracy program in what they call PSJA. I won't say the whole name again. Yes. Olivia, would you describe what you've done to build this powerful program and how you've adapted it to keep your students and parents engaged during COVID?
I'd be happy to share what we do here in PSJA, and thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this panel, Miss Eileen. I think one of the things that we need to make sure of is that we are definitely meeting the needs of our students, especially our early learners. And one of the ways that I want to say that we started off, especially this school year, is we have a new vision and a new mission in our district. And the way that we did that, we brought our community members together, our teachers, our students, our teachers, principals, everybody together. We went through a process. It took a few months to, hear everybody as to what they wanted to see PSJA or how they wanted to see PSJA continue to educate students. So I think this is one of the ways that we made sure that we heard our community's voice and that we allowed everybody to share their input. And so what you see here is a result of, of all of that work that took a few months to put together. And if you notice, our community is very much wanting for our students to be ready for a global society, and not just ready, but they expect our students to excel in that global society. And so one of the other things here, as you can see, we want to make sure that this starts at the early childhood level. We want those innovative, instructional supports, those innovative curriculums to start at the early childhood level, because foundation is crucial. And the other thing that was, voiced was for us to continue our dual language program, because biliteracy to our community is very important. It's one of the ways that we ensure our students maintain not only their native language, but also their culture. So one of the things that I want for our guests to see here is that at PSJA, our dual language program is not just for a select few. As you can see here on this graph, we have over 15,000 students participating in our dual language programs. And this is pre-K 3 all the way to 12th grade. And from a district who has over 31,000 students, we have almost half of those students participating in our dual language program. In our district, we have 98.5% of our children who speak Spanish as their first language. So you can imagine how dual language, this type of instruction is crucial and very much needed in our community. So one of the things that we strive to do is, from early childhood, make sure that we're developing strong literacy in our students' native language, in their first language. So we do have some native English speakers who are also participating in our program. So obviously we want to ensure strong literacy in English. And then for our Spanish speakers, we want to ensure strong literacy in their first language. And one of the things that Footsteps to Brilliance really allows us to do is to ensure that all of our children obviously have access to it, but also understand how to navigate the program. And I'll be speaking to that in just a little bit. But we also ensure that second language is something that is acquired. So natural acquisition through structured and meaningful opportunities for language development. So this is our, and I would just want to show you really quickly what that would look like in a graph. So I don't know if, I'm sure most of us are familiar with this iceberg analogy, where we have our BICS, our basic interpersonal communication skills, in our students' first language, but also in the second. So it all starts from language, but we can't leave it at language. We need to ensure literacy. We need to ensure that cognitive development, right? And so Footsteps to Brilliance allows us to not only continue to have our students develop native language literacy, but also start to pick up those BICS in the second language. And the beauty of it also is that it also helps our students continue to develop cognitive academic language proficiency, which is what CALP is, cognitive academic language proficiency in their first language and also in the second. So for example, here we have a screenshot of a book that our students are exposed to. So this is from a book that's called Whose Shoes? So the teachers share their screen because we're all learning remotely. They share their screen and they go through the book with our little ones. And so this program has some amazing questions, for comprehension and understanding for our students. And so this example here, as you can see, it says, which shoes are the longest? So we are starting to get our children to think in their second language, right? At that, comprehension, knowledge level. Yes, it's on the bottom of the Bloom's taxonomy, but this is where that foundation is laid. So that's why here you have early foundation, okay? And then we go to graduation, right? So from early childhood to graduation, because we give our students the opportunity, for first class education, we also ensure that our children have the opportunity to become those global leaders. And as you can see here, we have some students who when they graduated, they're on their way to Stanford, they're on their way to MIT because of that foundation that was provided for them in their native language, right? So equity also comes in because we believe that our native Spanish speakers should continue to receive native language literacy throughout elementary, throughout middle school, throughout high school, just as native English speakers continue to receive English throughout their educational career. And so because we're able to do that, our students, because of that amazing foundation, as early as 8th grade, our students take what we call an AP Spanish Language and Culture exam, and they receive college credit as 13-year-olds. So you can imagine how that, gives them that confidence and that boldness that they need to say, hey, if I got college credit as a 13-year-old, I can do a lot more in high school, and for sure go to college. So let me click here. So as we move forward, this is what the solid foundation looks like at the end. We ensure that that competency in both languages is equal, right? BICS in first language along with the CALP, BICS in the second language along with the CALP. And one of the things that Footsteps to Brilliance really helps us to do is just that. How we engage and progress and ensure progress for our students is through our teacher training. Teachers are key. Teachers are, those number one, people who we need because they are in the front line with our students. So teacher training is crucial. And one of the things that I really love about Footsteps to Brilliance is their attention to the PD that our teachers need, right? Because they talk to us about reports and usage, but then they also come and say, you know what, based on your reports and on your usage, this is a PD that we're recommending for your teachers. So our teachers are always updated, right? And because they're updated, have the latest information, then they turn around and implement that with our students. So this teacher training is crucial. And the other thing that we also ensure is this biliteracy curriculum. We want to make sure that our curriculum is tailored to our students, where it doesn't have a monoglossic view, but it has that bilingual, biliteracy aspect to it to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our students and that it allows for that cross-linguistic connection. I know that Dr. Barbara Nemko, she pointed out that the parents were able to learn more English because they were able to toggle between English and Spanish. Well, our students are doing just that as well. So those cross-linguistic connections are there for them, and they're embedded into this curriculum, into this program. The other thing that we are really very happy with is these parent emails. Teachers are also able to send parents reports, from the program itself, where they are showing the parents the usage and where they can help their child. So if their child is lagging a little bit behind in a few skills, then the teachers can walk the parents through that report and give some suggestions to the parents. The other thing that we do to make sure that we're staying connected, especially during this time of COVID, is that we have a dual language newsletter where we also have tips for the parents where we tell them things like, you know what, instead of being inside the house all the time, you can go outside and, like Ms. Jennifer said a little bit ago, how many things can you find that start with the letter blank? Or how many items can you find that, amount to the to 5? Or, get a piece of chalk, go out to the sidewalk and do your problems there, your math problems, or, draw your favorite character that you just read from Whose Shoes, right? And so the other thing, obviously, is that we want to ensure that the parents understand the way that we are making sure that our students are acquiring the second language. We give them little home projects, and it's also through the dual language newsletters, where we can say something like, okay, on Whose Shoes, they have different, they have a ballerina, they have sports, what is it, sport players, they have nurses, so on and so forth, cowboys. So they can go and choose their favorite character and go and research that character, right? And once they've researched that, the next story time, they get to share it. So here we go again with the linguistic and the cognitive development, not only in the first language, but in the second. And then, of course, making sure that we continue to engage parents. We have a variety of trainings for our parents. We have given them program overview, not only of our dual language program, but ensuring an overview of this Footsteps to Brilliance. I know that, the program itself sent parents an email as to how they can log on, download the app, and get information. The other thing is strategies for literacy. Our parents are our students' bilingual pairs, if you will, because they are at home with our children. They're the ones who get to work with their child when it comes to math, science, social studies, language arts, you name it. They are our students' bilingual pair. So we have to ensure that our parents are very much aware of what kinds of strategies they can implement to help their child learn. And then, of course, right now, I think everybody is also trying to ensure parents understand how to navigate this whole remote learning, right? And so tips on remote learning is also something that we reach out to our parents so that they can, in turn, help their child navigate, through like the mute button, how to turn on their camera, turn off their camera. And so that is, in a nutshell, how PSJA ensures in equity and how we keep our parents and our community engaged, especially at a time as such as this, where communication is key. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olivia. And by the way, I am looking at some of the comments, and I want to say this is an awesome supportive group. And so I'm delighted to say that you are going to have access to free bilingual resources from Footsteps to Brilliance for your classroom as a thank you for participating today. And I did a very short video just so that you could see what Footsteps to Brilliance, some of the features in Footsteps to Brilliance. Welcome. The Footsteps to Brilliance bilingual free library gives you a sampling of books, songs, and games from pre-K to 3rd grade. I am going to sample one book unit in English and in Spanish. The Little Chicks is a traditional Spanish children's song. Here is one page of the book. Note that words are highlighted. Students can record themselves. And every word is audio encoded. Frío. With this button, you can change from Spanish to English. Peep, peep, peep. Please explore the different stars. Book Buddies is comprehension. Games build vocabulary and phonemic awareness. Create a Book allows students to reuse the characters to write their own story. Enjoy! And there's one other thing that I want to offer you today. If any of you think that Footsteps to Brilliance might be helpful for your entire school building, there is a raffle, and Charmaine is going to post this URL. And if you sign up for that raffle, The entire school will get Footsteps to Brilliance. You'll have a parent portal. You're going to have data on all your students. We'll provide professional development, and we look forward to working with you. So please, if this interests you, sign up for this raffle. Now, I am really excited to hear your questions today because I've been following the chat and there's so many wonderful comments. So if you would let me know the questions, I'm going to ask the entire panel to come back. Oh, so the first question's for me. What year did you start this? It was around 2010, 2011. Would this also help English speakers learn Spanish? Absolutely. How could I introduce the Portuguese language to children aged 2 and 3 years in my school? And we have lots of experience working with people who speak Urdu, other languages that aren't Spanish. I'd be happy to follow up with you afterwards. And how did you manage to provide devices for all children? Our budget is very limited. I'm going to turn that one over to Dr. Nemko because I know that you did some pretty fantastic things there.
Well, one of the things that we discovered is that there are people in every community, even a community that's not known for being wealthy, that have money and are interested in helping. And we're fortunate that we have many vintners in the community, but the community has, I think, 600 nonprofit organizations. And so we went everywhere and asked. We need some iPads. The school district paid for half, and we were able to raise enough money to pay for the other half in that first year. Lots of grants out there, especially right now. I think it's so much easier right now because due to the pandemic, pretty much every child has a device of some kind. And over the years, we have saved them. And as we've gotten new ones, we use the old ones to loan to parents to use at home. But you just need to go out and talk to your community, ask people, find out which people, companies, nonprofits are interested in helping kids. And preschool kids are very attractive. Everybody wants to work with them.
I wanted to say one other thing. This is a program that can be accessed from any device, and about 98% of your parents have a smartphone, and they can just access it through a smartphone. So there's a lot of different ways to access this. Dr. Nemko, the next question is also directed at you. What type of accommodations and modifications are available for this program? It sounds amazing, but we are still running several self-contained special education classrooms.
Well, the wonderful part about this is it's so portable because it can be used on any device, even if you only used it at home, if you taught the parents how to use it. And we do that. When we are working with our kids, we do two kinds of workshops. One is with parents of our preschool kids in our program. The other is inviting parents from the community to come to a workshop where we show them how to use it. And we try to teach them that the iPad is not, you don't sit the child down with the iPad and say, have fun, I'll see you in a half hour, but it's treated as a book, that you read that book to your child on your lap the same way you would read a story. But the advantage is if you don't speak English, the iPad will do the English speaking for you. I'm not sure if that quite answers the question, but please ask a follow-up if I missed your real point.
And maybe some other panelists could talk about whether or not you're using this with your special education students and how that's working.
Well, Eileen, let me say something about special ed students. It's ideal for special ed students. iPads and special ed students, or devices and special ed students, go together like peanut butter and jelly. For many kids who have trouble focusing on the written word in a book, this is absolutely ideal because it's interactive. And the fact that the kids can touch the screen and make things happen, that you touch the cuckoo clock and it goes cuckoo, cuckoo. Kids are so engaged that they want to read the same story again and again and again, which is exactly how most children from professional families learn how to read. They ask their parents to read them the same story again and again and again. And the nice thing is the iPad never rolls its eyes or wants to throw the book and the kid out the window because they've read it 150 times. The iPad cheerfully does it exactly the same way the next time.
The next question is, do you teach grammar to the little ones, or what type of language teaching methods are used? Through stories and images? Curious to know. So the answer is yes, through stories, images, a lot of singing, and then we have interactive games that actually reinforce the different aspects of all of the domains of literacy. But Olivia, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, so we do have a scope and sequence that was created with the assistance of our, Footsteps to Brilliance consultants. And so all of that is embedded in that scope and sequence that our teachers follow. And because everything is modeled by our teachers for our students, everything is very sequential, and there is a process that is followed. So our students are learning in a very natural way. The acquisition is natural. All of these grammar adjectives and things like that, without the teacher having to say, pink, it's an adjective. Purple, it's just very, very natural. So it's something that is very beneficial because, like I mentioned, earlier, our students are not only gaining the linguistic, exposure that they need, but it's also getting to the cognitive level. And I mean, I cannot stress that enough. We cannot leave, English just at the linguistic level. We have to make sure that it goes to the cognitive level. And this program is really helping give our students that foundation that they need, that strong foundation.
And Jennifer, the next question is for you. You talked about having a newsletter. How often do you send that newsletter out?
Well, during the start of COVID, we had a weekly one, but that was and during the weekly one, we had daily activities to examples and things to do, and so now it's more it's a seasonal one at this point, but at the beginning of COVID, it was a weekly one with activities.
One of the questions here is, what support is provided for teachers after purchasing? Is there a community or resources they can visit to continue learning? Who would like to answer that question?
Well, Footsteps comes with a whole lot of teacher resources. That's an embedded part of the program. There are all kinds of things. One of the things that we did, which was immensely helpful, is we repurposed one of our classified employees to coordinate the program for all of our preschool teachers. And so she is able to do things like print the pictures and cut them out and put them on cardboard and send them to the teachers, because there are some things teachers really don't have time to do. But in terms of their professional questions about how to use it, the people at Footsteps are incredibly responsive. I've never worked with anybody that gets back to you so immediately and is willing to help. And then we've even had people come out and do workshops with our teachers.
If I can add to that, Miss Eileen, I was going to say I completely agree with that, because I know that if I were to call our Footsteps to Brilliance consultants tomorrow and say, can you provide this PD for our teachers, based on our reports? I mean, yes, that would be turned around very, very quickly. And so it is done in such a way where the teachers really go away with a full understanding of how to best implement the program and how to best, communicate with parents and continue to support parents as they're going through using this program. So yes, very, very good.
And I would echo that as well. We had amazing support, not only workshops, but the come into the classroom and model story times and small group activities using Footsteps to Brilliance. So,
and we developed a professional learning network among our preschool teachers. So they come together twice a year and share different ways in which they have used the program or done the story or done an enrichment. And that's been also incredibly rich and valuable.
The next question, I think, Olivia, really is to you, which is it okay to read a book in Spanish and English at the same time?
At the same time, we discourage that. because as you're reading the book in one language, you really want the students to think about what they're hearing. But you can always come back at another time and read it in the second language. But at the same time, we do discourage that again, because especially if you're looking at targeting a specific language. So if I want to make sure that my children hear this story in English, I want to make sure that I'm developing that, that thinking in English. Because then if I, read it in Spanish, then they're not going to listen to me reading it in English. They're going to wait for me to just read it in Spanish. So a little bit discouraged. I discourage that, but then again, it really does depend on your context.
Thank you. Well, we want to thank you all so much for attending today. I want to thank the panelists. You really all are experts in this area, and we so appreciate your sharing your expertise with this wonderful, awesome community. And thank you so much.